A blessed, beautiful day, Grateful Gap family. Welcome in to Wellness Wednesday. Truly excited for today's guest. Before we get into Grateful Wellness Wednesday, Grateful Guest episode, going to get directly to the daily verse. Daily verse for the day of July 3rd, 2024. Derives from the book of 1 Peter, chapter 2, verse 9, and it states as follows. But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for special possession, that you should declare abroad the excellencies of the one who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. Amen. And again, from the book of 1 Peter, chapter 2, verse 9. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Wellness Wednesday, Grateful Guest. Enjoy. Hey, blessed day, Grateful Gap family. Welcome in, welcome in. We're here alongside Jasmine, the creator and, just wonder former. She's a wonder former. Okay, that's what I'm going to call her. Just the journey she's been on, and I'm excited to learn and have her here to, get some information from her. But y'all can check her out on Instagram at Locks and Heritage Farm. It's underscores and stuff too, but I'm pretty sure she's the only name on Instagram like that. But check her out, and I don't know if we can link profiles from Instagram to her. I don't know, but we'll figure it out. But I do want y'all to go check her out and support her. She's doing great things in the farming world. Like I said, wonderful. She's a wonder farmer. And excuse me. What do you need help with? Okay, we'll talk offline. Bag about me. Bad. Okay. That's my daughter Leia. But yeah, so like I said, her journey. I've been anticipating this episode for weeks now. We finally, been able to. Our parties and her parties come together and have a moment to be able to just learn some stuff. I'm eager to pick your mind. I'm just eager to, find out what got you into agriculture, the journey yourself. And, how did who did you learn from? How did you get good at it? What are some points? Just, what are some things if we're beginners, just some overall information that you can give us. And please get out my background. Let me go in the house. Maybe freaking my train of thought, man. I don't know. Excuse me, Grateful Gap. Excuse me, Jasmine and Matt. Excuse me, y'all. But
that's all right.
Yeah, like I said, just giving us any insight to our agriculture journey. This past week on Wellness Wednesday spoke about organic farming, and I know that's something that you do that you build your success off of. And like I said, we're just looking to learn that, be a part of the journey. See what we can do here in my household. We're looking to get we've started a raised garden bed. So like my wife is planting different things of that nature. And we're newer in the journey, but you're in the ground, in the soil. You know what I mean? Like growing from what God created. The earth and dirt and all. You know what I mean? Like so. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Just eager to learn and like I said, how you got into it. Just anything you can give us. Just because I see your journey and you're definitely loving it. And I see Matt. Like I said, Matt really got me into it to be able to have you here as a guest. First of all, definitely thank you for your time and thank you for, agreeing to do this, to help us out, to help, help the world be able to learn how to, become healthier. So.
Oh yeah. And thank you for having me on. I really appreciate, this opportunity to share a little bit about how I got here and what I'm doing and where I'm planning to go with it.
Right.
All right. I guess I can start with how I originally got started. I always give credit to my mom. She grew up spending some summers on her family farm. I think one of her cousins or uncles or somebody had a farm, so she was able to have some experiences growing vegetables and eating fresh things. So me and my brother came around, and of course my dad was there as well. They decided to start a garden in Pennsylvania. That's actually where we're from York, PA.
Are y'all Eagles fans?
No, more like
I
Steelers. At
figured,
least I
yeah.
think my parents are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really.
We ain't
I
gonna
mean,
talk
I
about
like
that.
wrestling, but I'm not really super into, you know, the other
Sports.
other
Gotcha.
sports.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so originally from York, PA, been down here now about 11 years. But we got started growing in our backyard. Sounds like similar to what you guys are trying to get started with. So yeah, my mom kind of imparted a lot of growing knowledge on us growing up, and it was just something fun we did every summer. I helped my mom in the front yard with her flower garden, and then we all kind of pulled in the backyard with the vegetables. So we grew things like tomatoes, sugar snap peas, collards, kale, what else? Eggplant, different types of peppers, like all that stuff. Um, then after I graduated high school, we moved down here. So started working and going to college, got away from it a bit. And then, the pandemic happened and kind of got a reset like everybody else. Was able to go back and find some new hobbies. Also, around that time, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. So went through kind of a battle with that, with just re I guess understanding my body and what it was capable of, and just trying to get back healthy from that experience. And it did take some time. It took me until like November 2022 to get back to feeling like I can do whatever I want to do. um so yeah, around that time, November 2022, um I was on this road trip with my dad to visit my uncle, and just started researching stuff. Again, I was really starting to feel better, so I was trying to think, okay, what can I start doing with my time? What can I do for a career? Because just things that I thought I wanted to do, I no longer did. It wasn't going to work out anymore. So I was just trying to reorient myself to, I guess, this new reality of having, like a chronic illness. Um, but yeah, I started thinking about maybe trying to do different types of apprenticeships. I always liked working outside. Um, Most of my work experience is in retail. I had a brief stint in like an office job, and neither one of those things are for me anymore. Um, but eventually, I came across Georgia Organics um, apprenticeship, which is like a nonprofit here in Georgia, in Atlanta. Although I believe they service the whole state, but they mainly focus in like the metro region. And so I signed up for their flagship apprenticeship program for 2023, and that's the first year that they had it. Um, had some bumps in the road with my introduction to farming, but I was able to complete the apprenticeship and then went on to work full time at a certified naturally grown farm, which is not quite the same as certified organic. It's similar, but certified organic has like more stringent policies and procedures that you have to follow.
Make sure y'all go check out that organic and non-organic farming episode, because like you said, the natural and the organic is different. I had learned that last week actually too, so that's
Yes,
good
sir. That's right.
for you to be able to bring it up again. So make sure y'all, like you said, those labels on your foods and free range chickens and stuff like that doesn't mean the same thing as organic. So
No.
continue. I ain't mean to cut you off because I'm loving the story. By the
Oh
way.
no, you're good. Um, so yeah, I ended up working at a naturally grown farm. At this point, I'm not going to name the farm just because I did end up having kind of a terrible experience there. Um, the farmer, he's very knowledgeable, but just the way that he would talk to you, would talk to people, it just ended up being one of the worst like working experiences of my adult life. And that's including retail. So, but I did learn a lot from him despite that, and a lot of what not to do. And I feel like a lot of things I wouldn't have treated someone that way in the first place, but I just definitely learned like, hey, that's all that stuff is not okay. Um, so I ended up getting out of that situation. I worked there from August last year to February this year. Um, and around that, in the middle of that, in December, because I was already trying to leave, so I was looking at options. I came across a apprenticeship because I didn't mind still learning stuff. I always say I don't know everything, and there's absolutely more room to learn, especially with agriculture.
Amen.
Um, so I was looking to maybe do another apprenticeship and move on to another job at the same time, and came across an apprenticeship listed on the Global Growers Network website. And they're also a nonprofit here in Georgia, but they got started in 2010, I believe. It's founded by two women, and they were mainly trying to help like refugees and immigrants get access to growing space here, just to be able to grow fruits and vegetables, from their homeland, things they miss from home that they really couldn't find here. Um, so they ended up about 3 years ago, I think, buying some property in Rockdale, Georgia, in Conyers, and they have a 20-something acre farm here. So in December, I ended up going up there to meet with one of the farmers to ask about the apprenticeship. And he ended up explaining to me how that farm worked. And it's actually a co-farm. So the particular model that they have for co-farming is you go and interview with one of the farm staff, in this case, the farm manager, which is what I did after getting the information from the other farmer. So you interview with them. You have to fill out an application and basically do like a trial crop plan, um, which I had to figure out because I'd never done a crop plan before. When you work for other people or you do an apprenticeship with a farmer, you're not getting like a full snapshot. You're just there to do some work. You're not really there for planning or other management tasks like that. So that was kind of like my first taste of like, wow, this is real. You're having to do everything. Um, so yeah, I interviewed with the manager. His name is Drew Nelson. Pretty cool guy. Filled out the application, and I had to wait a couple weeks, and then found out in January that I got accepted to go head up there and be a co-farmer. Um, so I officially started in March when I signed my lease with them. I have a tenth of an acre, which is the smallest plot size that they have. I didn't want to overwhelm myself, but they go from a tenth of an acre to a quarter, a half, and then a full acre. Um, so we do have farm dues that we pay just to like help run the farm. There's like a refundable deposit that you pay in case you break anything or anything like that. Um, and then also for like the lease amount, everything is prorated for that. So if you're leasing an acre, you're going to pay $500 a year. And then as it goes down in size, it also goes down in the price. So since I'm on a tenth of an acre, I actually only pay $50 for the whole year just for the space. And then
Wow,
we're billed
that's a
quarterly.
blessing.
So it really is. It really is.
Like, cause okay, can you explain to somebody what a tenth of an acre, how big of a tenth of an acre of is? Cause me and Matt, I try to give he know what it looks like, obviously, but I try to
Yeah.
give my my measurement size for you know.
The best way I could, I mean, there's homes out here that have like a tenth of an acre um, backyard.
Yeah,
But let me see, because I have the measurements that one of the staff gave me, I think,
that's great value. $50 for how
for the
much
whole
you
year.
gonna make? You gonna produce so much more from the ground than $50 worth of vegetables you would cook. I mean, you would buy from a grocery store.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
I mean,
I'm just no, I'm not saying. I know you know that. But I'm just saying. I'm
yeah.
just giving the insight of, of how easy this stuff is. Not, I'm not saying like easy, like but the will to want to begin to learn about it, and then to see how, you know, it's still reasonable land in the world that you can acquire to be able to benefit you and your family. You know what I mean? Like even from
Absolutely.
even from the land people have.
Yeah. I mean, there are other costs involved with that. Like, um, we have to pay for water. Again, that's billed for the whole year. If you don't put in drip tape irrigation, I think it's $100, something like that. But if you put in your own irrigation system, that cuts down some of the money. We do pay to use the wash and pack station, the coolers. You can pay for storage on the farm. So there are different costs that come into that, as well as like having one of the staff, his name is Todd, having Todd make your beds for you. They charge by hour for that. So like if you don't know how to use like a large tool, something that's not manual, and a staff member has to do it for you, you do get charged for that. But if you know how to use like a tiller or the tractor yourself, you can just rent that piece of equipment instead of paying for labor hours for it.
And you said, can you put the name of the farm again for the ones who live in Georgia, or people even around the world, they might want to move to these places for opportunities like this, or even like if you want to give like pointers to, like you said, you just did your research. What did you type in? Like people can type in their local area and that type of stuff if they don't live in Georgia, like to be able to find these programs that are, in their area.
Oh yeah. So I would just start searching for farmer apprenticeship. Um, there should be different opportunities in each state, nonprofits. There might be colleges that have agriculture courses. Like also there's what is it, Emory Oxford College down here. They have a farmer apprenticeship job posting. Although I'm not sure how often they hire for it, but even colleges, if they have farms on site, a lot of the times they will also have apprenticeships. I mean, you can also try to reach out to some local farmers and see if they're hiring for farm hands or apprenticeships. A lot of the times, some of these farmers will be willing to take on people who don't have a lot of experience just to be a farmhand. But I would just advise, like, going off of my experiences last year with that guy who really honestly like should not be having employees, there's things to look out for. Um, and I want to say, especially as being like a woman, there's things to look out for, just like with any other, um, physical job where it's male dominated. Just be aware, look out for yourself, look out for toxic work situations. Because
Mm.
it's really easy for that type of stuff to happen in an environment where there's no HR, there's no corporate, it's just a business owner out there on some acres of land who essentially can do with that whatever they want. And if you're just like a contractor on top of that and a farm worker, like this was things I had to learn, especially in Georgia. Farm workers really don't have a lot of rights. You know, it's not even like if you're an immigrant or um, anything like that. Is farm workers in general in this state really don't have a lot of rights. So you really need to be careful about who you decide to work for.
Great point. Is great point. So, okay, so we got the journey, growing up, getting the knowledge, getting that green thumb, becoming a wonder farmer, as you are now, just growing. Um, so like you said, you have a plot, you in the ground, you on your 10th of acre, and
Hmm.
so farming, raised bed farming, or
Hmm.
to even just backyard gardening to plot farming. Like what's something what's the difference measures to you of just the steps to grow, not all the the political stuff, like you said, the farming things where you can, the things that come with it, with equipment and fees and all that type, the things you can.
Right. Well, hmm. I'm gonna say well, actually, to answer your question that you had earlier, um, about the size of my plot, it's roughly 80 by 55 feet.
Okay, yeah,
Is
yeah, yeah,
is
yeah.
roughly what that tenth of an acre is.
Yeah.
Um, but I would say that to farm for your family is a total different scale to try, or not farm, but garden for your family is a totally different scale from farming for production, like to sell and make a profit. If it's just a greater scale of production. You can plant let's say green peppers, right? I don't know offhand how many green peppers you're going to get from one plant, but let's say you plant 4 or 5 plants just to feed your family over the summer. If you're wanting to grow enough to sell, you might need 25, 30 plants. Um, Another example would be, let's say, corn. I don't know how many people know about it or think about it, but how many, if you don't know, how many corn do you think grows on one stalk?
Nice. I get a former question. Let's see. I'm gonna make a guess. Okay, corn stalk pretty tall. Let's see.
Hmm.
I'll say about 12.
No, it's only 2.
Two? Oh my gosh.
Only 2. That's why you see fields and fields and acres of corn, because each stalk, you're only getting 2 ears of corn off of that.
That's disrespectful.
It is.
God, man,
That's why I refuse to
man,
grow it. I will never grow corn
me and
for
Jehovah, we gonna have
production.
to talk. Man, I'm gonna actually ask God about that. Now, I'm gonna tell him thank you for the corn, but I'm gonna ask him, Lord, why you build this tree so big and then only give me two vegetables? Like,
Yep. That's
crazy.
all you're gonna get.
No, but see, that's unique. That's what I mean. Like, I would never even known that. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm thinking 12. Like you said, just the thought. But see, as you get into it, as you learn, that's so dope. I'm loving it. So please keep talking. I mean,
Yeah. So yeah, I think actually now I think corn is probably a better example than green peppers, because I can give you that exact number. So yeah, if you're wanting, say if your goal is 20 ears of corn for your harvest, and that's just to feed your family, then you just need to plant 10 plants and hope that they all have the full 2 ears of corn. But if you're growing for production, like these big farmers are out here with their acres and acres and fields of corn, that it's most likely GMO corn. I'm not even really gonna get into all that, but they're growing all of that to sell for a profit, for a purpose, whether it's selling to, whether they have like a contract with Walmart or Publix or whatever to sell all that corn to them or whoever, or whether they're selling it for, I don't know, fuel or to grind up to put into everything else that we eat in this country.
yeah, I know, right?
Like like it's in everything. You can't escape it here. Um, but that's the difference between growing to feed your family and growing for profit. It's the scale of it all.
So the plots are just for more production scale, like you said. Even if you wanted to feed your family for, to store food for however long you can store the food for, you
Mhm.
had a space you can grow that much. But if you have, basically, so you just basically saying farming, yeah, like you said, it's more land area and
Mhm.
raised farm bedding or raised gardening or smaller backyard plotting is more just for the family consumption type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's more like homesteading, which I consider people who grow food in their backyard, you're homesteading, honestly, because you're trying to grow food to feed your family for your home.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, some people still kind of make a profit off of what they grow on their homestead, but yeah, doing that just to feed your family, or maybe to, like we did growing up, my mom always made sure that we shared our harvest with the neighbors. Like that's still a different scale compared to farming. And then also, I mean, when you start to learn what you're doing with the gardening and everything, you can really sit down and still do a crop plan for, the size that you guys have. That's still important, I would say. Um, but to sit there and crop plan for acres and acres of land, if you're not just like monocropping, which is essentially growing one thing, like somebody who's growing corn or acres and acres of cabbage or potatoes or whatever like that, if you're doing what I'm doing, which is like a variety of crops, then you're having to sit there and research what can I interplant with this crop? What can I companion crop or companion plant rather? What draws what nutrients from the soil? And then you have to sit there and think about getting soil tests at the end of the year. Like that's one of the requirements for my co-farm is you have to leave the area in the same or better condition than you found it.
And
So
you talking
that
about like the
means
dirt, like the oil, like
the soil,
the soil,
soil
yeah.
health. Yeah. So like you can't sit there and um how can I put it? You can't just have an area and keep growing the same crop season after season or year after year. It's going to deplete your soil of certain nutrients, because each crop or like crop family, like nightshades, for example, those are like tomatoes, eggplant. I think peppers are also nightshades. Um, you kind of want to rotate your crops so they don't drain on the same nutrients from the soil. And even then, some of those plants, as they break down, will then add nutrients back into the soil. So it's all a balancing act at the same time, while you're also focusing on weeding and harvesting and putting down drip tape and trying to fertilize and add other amendments. So it's all a balancing act. And I mean, you're going to worry about the some of the same things as a gardener, but if you're, it's a difference from just planning out what you want to feed your family for the summer versus having to plan out what's going to make you money for the whole year.
What are some tips for gardeners, home gardeners? Would you give what is like some? Because let me tell you what my wife does. So my wife started with plants. She's been doing this journey for like a couple of months on and off, but she's finally put in soil, like put seeds in soil and that type of stuff. Because she was doing like she would cut maybe like different fruits or like an onion. Like she would have onions growing in the house like crazy just in water. And it was just it was so amazing to see that for me. And then she started to get more serious into it. Like I said, she had like a basically like a she would wait for them to grow for the leaves to start showing, like the little stems and stuff, and then she repotted them. She put them in a bigger pot of soil, and that's different from like you were saying, like when it's on the plies in the ground, you have so many different plants, growing in the ground, roots, combining with each other and those type of things. It's not the same as like, putting it in one pot where it's growing in that soil, in that pot or whatever, and those roots are growing just in those roots. It's not, intertwining different vegetables or fruits and, things of that nature like it would be in a farm.
Right.
What type of
some tips?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So like, what type of tips would you give? Like, because I think she's to the point where I don't know if they could just stay in the pot and keep growing that way every year, or because when we do move and we want to get into the ground in our own home too. So like, what is I know you was talking about the plot. What's it called? The plot. To what you're supposed to grow and how you operate, how you enter it and exit it, type of stuff. And so what tips would you give for like people who raise flower beds but might want to transition those raised flower beds to the ground? Like,
right. I would say definitely try, if you're planning or if your wife is planning to move to the ground, I would definitely say try to do a little crop plan just to figure out what you want to grow. And then I would also suggest, along with that crop plan, to just research a bit about companion planting. So basically, what that is finding out plants that can be beneficial when you plant them close to each other. So something I could say would be like tomatoes and basil. Um, I think basil has some properties that could help keep insects off of tomatoes. I've also heard that planting those two together can make your tomatoes taste better. Another thing I could say would be like nasturtium, which is an edible flower. That has a lot of properties that can basically be like an insect lure in a type of way. So you can plant that near like your kale, your collards, Brussels sprout. Well, not Brussels sprouts because that's more of a winter crop, but your kale, your collards, leafy stuff, you can plant those flowers near it to help keep insects off of those crops. I'm trying to think of what else. Also like onions and kale, onions and collards. Those are some good ones to plant together too.
okay.
I would say also, if she ends up planting things that have like a pretty good root system, like the kale, the collards, cabbage, really anything, honestly, if you can, leave the root system in there when the plant is done producing and you're ready to remove it, or you need to put something else there to extend your growing season. Try to just clip it and leave the root system in there, because each root system basically has its own little ecosystem in there where it's got all the good bacteria, nematodes, other little beneficial insects that if you remove that root system, you're taking all that good stuff out with it.
Great tip. Great tip. I definitely, like you said, the vocabulary and the lingo and the words of farming, is just surpassing my mind. It's hurting my brain. But I am just like super excited to learn more, and the more like I'm gonna be definitely tracking the journey. And again, make sure y'all go check her out on Locks and Heritage Farming. Locks underscore and underscore heritage underscore farms. It's farms, right?
Yes.
Yeah, farms. Yep, that's her. But it should just be that name. Like I said, I'm pretty sure she's just she should change it to at Wonder Farmer. That's her. That's who.
I
Yeah,
appreciate
for
that.
sure. Like I said, just you're giving so much knowledge to me already. Just for me, just even being on the outside looking in, and just having you here just to hear your journey, hear the process of you overcoming battles. It just gave me so much strength to be able to hear that you overcame something, and you fought. You didn't cave in to the enemy, and you looked to God to be able to strengthen you, and He showed you His nature. He showed you the world that He created for you to become a part of. And like you said, you seen that from your mother growing up. Showing, this is, like I said, I tell people all the time, everything is God, and if you don't see it in yourself, you can't really, I show it. I see it through the storytelling, like, of people's lives, and how, like you said, you just going into the story, and I'm just listening and seeing it as you walk through. Like you said, even the fact of, like you said, sharing the harvest with your neighbors and that type of stuff. That the beauty of your life to get you to a point where you were, you were at a place where you felt low, and you found ways to pull strength out of your journey, out of your life, to get you where you are now. You know what I mean? To, like you said,
Yes.
become a it seems like you're going towards production farming. You know what I mean? So that's awesome. To be able to see, especially getting more farmers who look like us. Not being not being weird or nothing like that. But I'm just saying, like, just to
Oh no, it's not weird.
no, I know it's not. But for other people to think it's like, oh, because we're black and that type of stuff. But I'm just saying to to be able to see it more, to be able to, like you said, feel more comfortable with somebody who knows they've been in a situation where they've been talked down upon, like they're less than human, not because they're black or white or man or woman, because they didn't fit into a farming area, that they were new to something that was old to someone else. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
all those type of things, and that you give insight in. So now, as you continue to go forth in your farming journey, and you become an apprentice to an apprentice. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna trickle down. You're gonna create more farm the right way. Even those
Yeah.
big farmers, they just think about the money, 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 but they're not thinking about, they don't love to create. Well, we don't create it, but they don't love to build a process of the creation to help people out. You know what I mean? Like, hey,
I've come across that a lot, where there's a lot of jaded farmers, man. There's a lot of angry farmers, and there's some that still love what they do, but there's quite a few that just, they lost the love for it, and maybe they need to do something else, but they just financially can't, and I think that just kind of makes it worse,
like I
to
said,
be
yeah,
honest.
because like I said, they have to do it. They got to feed their family. But like I said,
Yeah.
I just feel like that's in any way. If you know you have to feed your family, you're a man or a woman, you should find love in whatever you're able to do. Like I said, people are not grateful for the opportunities they have. You
Yep.
know, people aren't grateful to be able to have, like you said, they don't even have to think about. See, I don't know. I'm not getting into it, but I feel like whatever I do and I put my mind into, I have the mindset and the benefit of what are the people reaping out of the people on the other side, especially if it's like something that you produce, like a product or something like that. What is the person on the other side getting? And can they trust me to make sure I'm giving them the best product that I have? You know what I mean? And when you do
Yes.
that with the farming, and you take that with you, that's going to benefit people in your life. They're going to make people healthier. Like you said, even being in the natural farm setting, you still have an opportunity to have organic materials. Like you said, have organic measures that you do, like use natural stuff, like you said, weeds, or what is it, compost, anything that is
Mm-hmm.
going to benefit the soil, like you said. And I love the fact that in the program, and that this organization you're with, that they want their products to be, they want the land to become better. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Not to be the same, not to be worse, but improve every time. And that teaches you a lot. You even made the phrase about rotating. You got to rotate you got to rotate your crop. Like, whoa, what does that even?
Yeah, it's so basically rotating your crops. It really plays into your crop plan if you can do it a little bit in advance. But basically, what it means is if you have, say, 5 beds. I'm gonna keep it a small example. You have 5 beds, and let's say in bed um 1 and 2 you got bell peppers, 3 and 4 you got I don't know, tomatoes. Let's go to 6 beds and say 5 and 6 you have, sorry about that, you have eggplant. So well, those are all kind of nightshades, but I digress. So say you have different crops in different beds, right? The next year you don't want to have planted eggplant in those same 5 and 6 beds again for the next year. You want to rotate it. So you should have, I think I said green peppers or bell peppers in 1 and 2. You want to then rotate the bell peppers to then go into the eggplant beds. And then tomatoes should go, I might have my rotation mixed up, but tomatoes should go into beds 1 and 2, and then the eggplant should go into 3 and 4. So that's just another thing of not wanting to deplete the soil health and soil nutrients.
And so, okay, and that's the difference between. I think that's another difference between. Or do you? Okay, okay. Let me rephrase it this way. Okay, the rotating of the crops. Do you think that also the um planting side, or do you just keep that for the plot? Because I know you mentioned earlier about make sure you do our best to keep the roots in the ground for a residential
Mhm.
garden. So is that correct?
Well, it's kind of hard to do on a smaller scale. Like it's even hard for me to do on a tenth of an acre, and I have, I believe, 22 beds. Um, it's more for something that's, you have a larger area that you're growing. But the roots tip, that was mainly for to leave that little ecosystem in there and then to let the roots break down. So it'll add that nutrients back into the ground as well. Um,
Oh, because the plant's gonna
Something I
die
would
if you
also,
cut the root. I mean, you
yeah,
cut.
I mean
Okay,
it's gonna die regard. I mean, once you clip that whole thing off, the roots are gonna die.
okay, okay.
Um, yeah, another thing I would definitely suggest too that you can apply for like a residential garden is to do some type of cover crop. Like don't like when you finish in the fall and you've got everything up, don't just leave the land to fallow, which basically means, don't leave the land bare. It's always going to want to be covered. Mother Earth always wants to be covered. So whether, maybe you, I don't know, maybe you tarp it, maybe you put a cover crop down like red clover. Um, you could also do like a daikon radish as a cover crop. A daikon, not to get too off topic, but if you were to do, say, like a daikon radish as a cover crop, those type of root vegetables are actually good for breaking up the soil for you. And then as it dies off, it'll break down and add like nitrogen back into the soil. But being that it'll break apart the soil for you, that's something you know, won't really have to do too much next year if you have to go back and till it or break up the soil to plant something, which you should be doing anyway.
Yeah. See, we're gonna need a whole nother segment. Just planting from seed, soil to seed. Every like you said, I'm saying, tilling and all these terms of farming. You know what I mean? This is a lot. It's just, but I'm loving it. Like I said, just the the terminology that you learn. I'm learning even like you said everything. Cause all this stuff is new to me. Just be able to learn it and like I said, hear the terminology, hear the steps and the things that it takes to farm. And I've always heard growing up, farmers work hard, which they do.
Oh
Obviously,
yes.
you know what I mean. But it's such a I've just been happy to see the progress that my wife has made from her raised garden bed and the work she's put in there. Even though it's been soil bags and like it's not as hard as platform, but it's still just a journey of like you said. You see what the people who do love agriculture. That's why I say I definitely see in your journey that you enjoy to do this and love to do this, and I even see it through Matt and how he was talking. He come
Mhm.
and tell me about things he learned and I man, cuz you know what I mean. He did this, he learned that, and then, like, even when you were talking about the like, yeah, we gotta go over there to drip tank at the farm. Like, yeah, like, and he the information he's learning, and it's just so cool. Like this, like I said, to see your journey, and I'm enjoying just to be able to learn from what I'm learning right now. But then obviously you're matched late.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong though, like home gardening, that's hard work too. It's a lot that goes into it, but I do wish farmers in this country got a lot more respect for what we do, for sure, because I wish more people like really thought about it. It's not just the physical aspect of what we're doing every day. Um, because I mean, while I'm doing this and building my business, I still have another job. I work on a flower farm, so I get no breaks, unless I make myself sit down. But farmers, we're out here not just dealing with the physical stuff, lifting stuff, doing practical exercises every day. We're also sitting here having to be scientists, having to be planners, having to be managers, having to be HR if you're a person that cares about the people that work for you.
Logistics.
Having to do logistics, having to be administrators, having to some cases be an accountant, do your own taxes if you're crazy enough to do that. Like we are literally sitting here with like an octopus with 8 arms and everything. If you don't have people you can trust to take some of that stuff off your hands. So being a farmer, that whole dumb farmer thing is not true. People who choose to do this for whatever reason that they start their farm business, it's not easy. It's not simple. It's we're doing 1,000 things at once, thinking about 1,000 things at once. Because if you don't get this stuff right, if you don't figure it out, you're not going to make money off of that time and effort you put into growing that crop. And in a lot of things people don't understand too, you can basically only grow a crop once a year. So while there's, a lot of farmers out here who've been growing for decades, say you got a farmer who's been growing for 20 years and they've been growing, I don't know, sweet potatoes or something. They've only grown those sweet potatoes 20 times. So
Wow.
each time you hope that you learn something, but that's still only 20 times that you're able to do it.
Boy, I salute you. I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm looking into being self-sufficient. So, I'm looking to be able to be, in a place where I know how to, make sure I do this XYZ. I can, or
Yeah.
what I mean, whatever it is I need to plant this so much into farming that I'm so unaware of. So I mean, hopefully this is not your last time here to give us some information about farming and the journey and the resources we can use to be able to get us into farming, all this type of things. And just really appreciated this, and appreciate this time. Again, definitely, well worth the wait. And I appreciate this, and I just look forward to it. So
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on. It's like I don't know, this year I've started to become a little bit more proud of what I do and grateful for what I do, and I appreciate the opportunity just to talk about it, a little bit. I really
yeah,
do.
for sure. Like I said, I definitely look forward to it. I know I'm gonna get in Matt's ear, be like, hey, when Jasmine come back, tell us some stuff about farming. And like I said, just giving us some pointers, some things that even I know this is even going to have your mind, racing when you learn something new, and hey, I learned this about this, and people should do this, or I figured this out, you know what I mean, or I had a trial and error with this, and I did this differently, and this worked, so. I'm just, I'm looking forward to hearing stories from Matt, and that's going to definitely get me motivated to say, hey, well, when Jasmine coming on and tell us about some stuff, and it's gonna be super super dope. So again, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate your journey. I'm loving it. I love the fact that you didn't give up in your life. You continue to go forth and found hope in something, and it gave you strength, and it's going forward. And God got you. God got you, Jasmine. I want you to know that He
Thank you.
got you. And you're doing great things, and you going places. You're going a lot of places, good places, great places. So I'm looking forward to just to know you. I'm like, yeah, I know Jamie. You know what I mean? Shout out to Locks. Shout out to Locks and Heritage Farms.
Thank you.
So make sure y'all go follow her, turn her up, and appreciate you again. So,
Thank you so
no
much.
problem. Thank y'all. Y'all be blessed. Have a great day, y'all.
Hey,
You
you too,
too.
cousin.
Peace.
Peace.
Bye.